I thought at the weekend the performance wasn't good. It was ugly.
Chelsea fans will want to see a bit more of that urgency and directness on the ball.
The performance was irrelevant. It was just about getting the result.
Hello and welcome to the Chelsea Blueprint, the show covering all things Chelsea, where we dissect everything happening with the Blues. I'm Kweku Afari, and joining me today is former Blues professional Sam Parkin and the Sun Sports Chelsea reporter Jack Rosser. How you doing, boys?
Very good, thank you, mate. Very good.
Should we start with Saturday? Chelsea
Absolutely.
Back to winning ways in the Premier League. It was Liam Rosenior's first game in charge of Chelsea in the Premier League and got the win, a 2-0 win against Brentford. Goals courtesy of João Pedro and Cole Palmer. What do you make of the performance? You guys both there?
Yeah,
we were, yeah. I wasn't blown away, really. I don't think either of us were.
No?
I think the positive thing is that he comes in and has a winning start, isn't it? That's all Liam Rosenior going into that would have wanted. Didn't win his first home game in charge. Arsenal, load of illness. That's a bit different. And especially, I think, the record they had at home under Maresca was so poor this year in terms of getting ahead in games and dropping points. I think they've dropped 15 points in the league from winning positions, and 13 of them have been at Stamford Bridge, which for a club with their ambitions and with world champions plastered across the top of the stadium isn't fantastic. So the fact they managed to get ahead and stay ahead and hold on is something to praise them for. But Brentford created. There's been a lot of, Brentford were really unlucky. I wasn't amazed with Brentford. I didn't think they were all over them, but they had some good chances that they definitely wasted. I think the Shard one in the first half where he turns in and passes instead of shoots. So God knows what he's doing there. I mean, even I know that you should be putting the trigger there. But yeah, I think Chelsea, all you can really say is it's a solid start and a lot to build on. Rosenior's talking about, I want to win now, but I want to be front-footed and exciting. I think you watch that, the way they build up, and a lot of that hanging over from Maresca, the sort of sideways and slowly. And Brentford win the ball and flash through them and are straight up there creating chances. I think Chelsea fans will want to see a bit more of that urgency and directness on the ball, albeit, Chelsea, the way Chelsea shaped up and the sort of distances they had between everyone and the gaps that were there because they're learning a new system aided Brentford in doing that. There's a lot of work to be done to get them to where Liam Rosenior will want them to be.
Yeah, I think one of the standout things to me, and you just alluded to it there, was Thiago and Sharda for two players, far and away the best forward players on display for my money. And it shouldn't be that way, but I think that accentuates the form that those two guys are in, but also the indifferent form of the Chelsea forwards. That shouldn't be the case, but there was two guys with real rhythm, real confidence. I thought they were an incredible handful in that first half. I maybe slightly disagree with Jack. I thought they were far and away the better side.
Really?
Yeah, I really did in the first half. I just thought cohesive. I thought that they didn't necessarily get after Chelsea in the same manner that Arsenal did in terms of the press, but I think they want to stay connected, Brentford, and pay Chelsea the respect that they're due when you have top individuals like Palmer, like Neto, like Garnacho can be when they're on the game. But I thought in terms of their chemistry with the ball, there was a bit of a gulf, which is sobering to say, given where Chelsea have been across the last 20 years. But completely echo the sentiment already in this room. The performance was irrelevant on Saturday. It was just about getting the result. There was a few positives, but for him, Liam Rosenior, the Charlton was a little bit of a foregone conclusion when you consider where they are. There's a big gulf between those two sides. Should have beaten them handsomely as they did, but I thought at the weekend the performance wasn't good. It was ugly. But the win was all that mattered. And he leaves, I think anyway, in a week where he's been ridiculed and he's been taking some body blows, which is not great because, it's not his fault he's been catapulted into this position. But I think he leaves with enormous credit because his changes, his tactical changes, his decision-making, very, very good, I thought.
I also think he deserves some credit as well. Tosin got thrown under the bus by Maresca not long before he went. I think it was the Leeds game. He properly had a go at him afterwards and sort of said, look, there's our one experienced player on the pitch. How did he do at Leeds? We didn't really see him after that. He came in which is a big call. They've struggled with set pieces and especially long throws all season. Chelsea, they've conceded 4 from long throws. One of those was in the reverse game against Brentford. He's brought Tosin in, big defender, and I thought until he went off injured, he was fantastic. So to have the confidence to bring him in, they defended well. I mean, Thiago, you can see that connectivity that you're talking about, which is a concern reflected on Chelsea, but they kept him fairly quiet. Sharda was a bit of a different story. They struggled with him at times, but I thought Tosin defended well. And again, you don't really have to do too much work with Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in the middle, do you? Because those two have been on another level this season. I think the big concern, like Sam said, will be up front because, I mean, João Pedro scored a nice goal, but what on earth he was doing for the early one when Enzo played him through, and there maybe was a little tap on his heel, there maybe wasn't, but nothing to send him down. Then instead of, when he's one-on-one through, having a go, goes on the floor. That's where it's got to be talked about. But then the change you mentioned with Delap, I think that's a bit of encouragement. Somebody you worked with before, someone that's not had a great time, to come in and win that penalty very quickly.
No, you have to factor that in. And I was actually looking down to my left from the gantry thinking, despite Pedro having scored a wonderful goal, brilliant finish, João Pedro, he could have done Delap a bit earlier. I was thinking, need an outlet. I mean, that goal felt like it was coming for Brentford, so I thought that substitution was a long time coming, but I think you absolutely have to factor in that Liam Delap's worked with Rossinha before, and you would expect him to be able to get the best out of him. So yeah, that change was great, and obviously the Santos one. I think that for Garnacho, he put himself out to criticism there. I think because it was a defensive move essentially. Had it been Palmer or maybe even Neto, it may have got an adverse reaction from the crowd. But he actually,
I did at the time, sat, where you're up in the gantry above us, but where we sit, we're right behind the dugouts, and we all sat there thinking, well, he's going to bring Palmer off, all the injury stuff he's had. We don't know whether he's had some of this illness or not. But I thought Garnacho was so poor.
It makes it easier to bring Garnacho off after he misses that sitter. And I looked at your post-match ratings. You gave him a 4, and I think that's how.
While he's down.
It was reflective of the mood in Stamford Bridge, I suppose, in terms of he wasn't having his best performance. We saw him score a brace against Arsenal midweek, but he kind of blows hot and cold. Garnacho.
He does, and he just, especially in that first half, he's on the side we're all sat, and you watch him go up against Coyote time and time again. You don't know if it's a lack of confidence for him or Coyote defending really well. I can remember one occasion where he went past him.
He didn't look that assured, did he? I was expecting more from Coyote.
I remember one occasion, I think, I can remember where he ran at him, went past him and tried to get across him. I think he won a corner. Every other time it's cutting in or cutting back and passing in. And you just think, we know Garnacho's got a lot of talent. Show it a bit more. Have the confidence to run at him. And whether that's a problem with him or how he's been asked to play, we don't know at the moment, but I think that's the real frustration Chelsea fans have got, that they don't see enough of him trying to take someone on.
You mentioned the changes that was made by Liam Rossinha. When he brought Santos on, we saw Cole Palmer shift to the right-hand side. Having spoke to Cole Palmer, that's his preferred position for Chelsea, not hugging the touchline, but on the inside, or in the half space on the right-hand side. He didn't celebrate after his goal, and lots been made of that in terms of his body language, his demeanour. What did you make of it? And are we seeing an unhappy Cole Palmer right now, or are we seeing a man that's trying to return to full fitness?
I think he's someone that always wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit. He's not someone who's going to play with a smile on his face the entire time. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. And we don't know what's going on. I said it in the aftermath of the game. Sometimes you can be having a miserable time in your personal life, and that can affect your demeanour on the pitch. He could have been feeling unwell. There's a virus going around. He could be carrying this injury still, or it could just be purely that the team's underperforming, and he's a bit of a part of that as well. He wasn't at his best. I would isolate that moment in the first half. One cut back to him about 20, 25 yards out on his left foot. Perfect position. Not even to work the goalkeeper. I know it's only a minor thing, and it's one chance. And 6 times out of 10, he'll probably find the corner there from that position. But I just felt that was in keeping with recent performances. He would have expected to work the goalkeeper there. So we don't know exactly what's going on with him. And I think it's dangerous to speculate. But yeah, he certainly wasn't in the best of moods at the weekend. But I've been there as a player. Sometimes if you're not completely at it and the lads want a hug, you don't want to give it back. You just want to get down the tunnel. 2-0, you've got yourself a penalty and refocus on the training ground. And I think the bigger thing is the chemistry of the side. That's the bigger thing for me. And And they got over the line at the weekend. And I thought it was partly down to that decision from Liam Rosenior, because I felt that Jensen and Damsgaard, Jensen's playing on the team sheet wide right, but he's essentially tucking in.
Yeah.
So there's a problem in there, because those two are very, very good technical footballers. And essentially at the weekend, it felt like Caicedo, which we know he's capable of, was doing the anchoring in the midfield alone.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was to regain control. And it was a bit of a negative move, but to regain control.
But it was a very messy game before that, as well, wasn't it? And you do need someone in. You do need as many people in there as you can. And Sanchez is someone he really trusts as well,
which is important. Yeah, along with Delap, that could be of great importance in the months that ahead.
100%. Talk about somebody else who played well in that game. Robert Sanchez didn't cover himself in glory in the League Cup semi-final against Arsenal, but he made some important saves for Chelsea on the weekend, and you gave him an 8 in your post-match ratings, which is testament to the performance that he put forward. And a lot's been made about the Chelsea goalkeeping position, and there's Mike Penders sitting in the wings, obviously at loan at Strasbourg, played under Rosenior. Rosenior's talked about his goalkeeper, saying he hasn't really got a number one, but did Robert Sanchez maybe calm a bit of the noise that was starting to build after his performance against Arsenal midweek?
I think so, yeah. And I found the Arsenal stuff a bit odd. There were two absolute clangers, and I understand why he's done it, but for Rosenior to come out afterwards and say, look, I'll take the responsibility because he's trying stuff that I'm asking him to do. What is that he's asking to do? Leave two crosses to just go to the right behind him? Because I mean, there's all these new ideas with goalkeepers in football. That's certainly not one of them. They're just two massive errors. But I think if you chuck that in last season, it builds on a narrative that he's not good enough for Chelsea. I think it was an exception in terms of the way he's played this year for Chelsea. We've seen a much more calm, confident, composed, comfortable Robert Sanchez in the Chelsea goal this year. And I thought in a game where at times Chelsea were under it against Brentford, stood up, calmed the noise down a bit, because it would be a lot of, we had in the summer, you go through the list of in various parts of the club or at Strasbourg or out on loan, they've got 9 goalkeepers and none of them are any good. I still don't know if, where they want to get to, if it is where they want to get to, back to that level of challenging for the title every year, that you can have Robert Sanchez as your number one. But for now and where they are, I think it was a big game for him to come straight back in after that, because you never know whether Jorgensen plays against Pafos this week and I wouldn't put my money on it, but puts in a good performance. Then the noise keeps going, but it was just one area when there's a lot of things going on that he put in a really strong performance to calm things down.
Yeah, the first save from the deflection in the first half, it gets lost because of the error of Sharda's, but that's a top save. And then the second one from Sharda, again, the 1v1, I actually thought Reece did well to get back in, because when he received the ball, it looked like he was just going to be in and be able to pick his spot either side of Sanchez. But I thought that little bit of contact from Reece James just hurries the striker's mind. You know you've got to be precise here. You know your contact's got to be good. And Sanchez did brilliantly to divert it. It was interesting, the comments of Rosenior about I'm asking him different things. I thought he spoke brilliantly, Liam Rosenior. I agreed with everything in some of his television interviews after the weekend about the feeling of the game and that the result wasn't, the performance wasn't perfect, etc. But I was a bit quizzical when I heard that. I mean, there may be certain different patterns in terms of how Chelsea are playing at. You might pop it into one of the centre halves, Sanchez get it back, and then you're playing somewhere else. They'll work on that on the training ground, granted, but in essence, it's very similar to what. And in terms of that part of it, it's similar to what we've been watching under Maresca. It's going to be slightly different, but he's had that on his shoulders the entirety of his Chelsea career. You're not going to. I remember one game when there was about a 30-40 yard gap in between the opposition's team's press and their back line, and it was so obvious that Sanchez just had to go bop. I think it was Jackson, probably the centre forward, and Maresca said after the game, if he does that, he doesn't play. He doesn't play, and this is going back 18 months. But
he played a few of them at the weekend. There was one that resulted in a chance. There was another one, I think that went out to the right, and that might have been the one that ended with Palmer's shot over the bar. And then
it did feel there was a bit more variety.
There was another one down the left, and Rosenior right in front of us was applauding Sanchez for playing those. So he's definitely not going to be told off for going long every now and then.
I think it's almost like a manager's default, isn't it? I'll take the flack. I'm asking them to do different things when we know, the Chelsea blueprint has been to is always going to be if you can play out and trust the players, the midfield players, that they can take it with people tied to them.
But just make sure you are asking him to catch it.
Yeah, exactly. Gents, let's move on to Chelsea's next game. They host Pafos in the Champions League. The Cypriot side, of course, David Luiz in their ranks. And the next two Champions League games are must-wins for Chelsea. A couple of difficult results before the Champions League went on break. That loss against Atalanta really killed Chelsea's chances of qualifying to the next stage. But this is a game that they'll be expecting to win on Wednesday night against a team that, they're giving a few teams a difficult run in this competition, but Chelsea will be heavy favourites at Stamford Bridge. What do you expect to see from Rosenior going into this game on Wednesday?
I wonder, I mean, the big question that, and he'll be speaking on Tuesday afternoon ahead of it, is who's available. I think if there was no illness and everyone was fit, he'd probably want to use the game to have a look at a couple of players that he'd maybe not seen loads of yet. You want to see, I say you want to, you will want to see Santos maybe start and have a run, maybe hope that Delap's well enough to have a start, because I think after him coming off the bench and doing well and winning that penalty, he'll want to encourage more good performances. We saw him, even when Callum McFarlane was there, Delap came on at Man City and did well and stepped up, and starting to see him look a bit more confident in himself to make those runs in behind, and he's really the only one in that squad that's capable of doing that, because João Pedro likes to drop in and play deeper every now and then. I think they'll want to see something calm. The win against Brentford helps in that if they'd lost that and it was a mess and we've had the new manager come in and all that, and then David Luiz turns up to remind you of how good things were not that long ago, just a reminder of, past glories, then it's another thing to go, oh God, a bit like when Jose turned up with Benfica and was sat in the room surrounded by pictures of him, the Drake Suite at Stamford Bridge earlier this season. And Maresca's there having to compare himself to Jose, just an awkward thing to have to see if the feeling isn't great. But it's just going to be building that confidence. I think at this stage, it looks, like you said, very difficult for them to get into that top 8 and avoid a playoff. But they need to go into the Napoli game next week, because that's the even more challenging one, with as much of a chance as they can. And losing to Pafos would be incredibly unhelpful for what has been a busy but fairly comfortable start for Rosenior so far.
Sam, do you expect to see changes rung out against Pafos on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think you look at the bench from the weekend. Even Esteval, you could unleash him in the 10, couldn't you? Because I wouldn't imagine that Palmer's going to be risked ahead of this game, which you should win, and you should win comfortably. I think Bayern put 5 past them earlier in the campaign. I think David Luiz has got a little knock as well, which is going to not be great, is it? That's going to be a bit sobering for the Chelsea fans that are there on Wednesday, because everyone would love to see him back. But I think multiple changes. You'd expect Delap to go back in, having got his first Champions League goal earlier in the campaign. No qualms with him getting some more minutes, because I think he, in time this season anyway, should cement that position. I expect them to really shuffle the pack, and despite Crystal Palace's woes at the recent times to look ahead to at the weekend, I think you can hold a little bit back for that game, because still I think a game against Palace, if they're on it, is a tough proposition. So I expect multiple changes in the Champions League, and I expect Chelsea to win. I expect them to win well and maybe rack up a bit of a score.
Despite the fact that Chelsea took on Charlton in the FA Cup, you expect them to beat Charlton, and in the league, it's a Brentford side that are going well. We expect to beat Brentford at home, and against Pafos in the Champions League, Chelsea are heavy favourites. But it's a baptism of fire for Rosenior. His first 4 games, 4 different competitions. Yeah. Do you think that he should be prioritising any competitions at this stage of the season, or do you think every game has its own merits and he should be going in with the strongest team as possible, depending on
for him, every game will have its merit in that he gets to learn a bit more about everyone else. I think the Premier League is obviously the most important one always. The stage of the competition we're at in terms of the League Cup, that's probably got to be number 2 at the moment, really, I think, in this next few weeks, given that, it'd be amazing if almost impossible for them to drop out of the top 24 in the Champions League and not make it through. The top 8 would be a bonus now at this stage. I think, given it's a semi-final and a chance to get to a final, the League Cup is really important, and then the Premier League is always always the one that you need to put the most focus on. Obviously, Rosenior will talk about, we just focus game by game by game. The same thing they all come out with.
Do you believe it?
No, never. No, I think, I'm sure you would have said it at certain times during your career, but I think if you're chasing something or you're competing with someone, every player will be able to sit there and know the 5 games they've got coming up, the 5 games their rivals got coming up. They'll know all about it. They'll be thinking, we've got them in a couple of weeks as well. Managers maybe a bit more, but it always seems to come out in time that actually, we did it in blocks, or you have to do that because you're thinking of that. I think Pafos as well, they will need to win. There's no
You probably have to go in with a strong enough
team,
a strong enough squad as well. Just because you don't want to leave too much to chance. It's a game you should win with the B team, essentially, that we saw in the Conference League last season, getting all the way, but different proposition now in the Champions League. But I think you probably have to go strong on the bench, for example, just to safeguard against a nightmare evening, as it would be if you were to lose to Pafos.
And in terms of the game against Palace, if you look ahead to that one, going to Selhurst Park, I know Palace are struggling at the moment, and you've mentioned the Premier League as the priority. Do you think he's starting to understand his strongest 11? Do you think the 11 that we saw against Brentford on the weekend is somewhat similar to when everyone's fit, his strongest 11? And do you think we'll see that more likely against Palace on the weekend as opposed to midweek against Pafos?
Yeah, I think so. I think reality
we were saying before the game, weren't we? It wasn't far off his strongest team.
No,
I
absolutely.
think maybe a Fofana or Esteval over Tosin and Garnacho maybe turn that up one more notch. But the team against Brentford was pretty much there, wasn't it? Obviously, Colwell not available long term, but of the players that are around now and fit and ready to go, that's as strong as he could have gone, really. Yeah,
and the Tosin gets taken out of the equation now if he's going to be injured for a few weeks. Colwell, I mean, his absence is looking greater and greater by the week, isn't it? Because you've not been able to get that partnership spot on really in the centre of defence. So Fofana, he finished at right back, didn't he, the other day? But Fofana back in probably to one of those centre half berths would be obvious at Palace. And it's a game where you're on a bit of a hiding to a nothing because at the moment everyone would anticipate Chelsea going there and probably winning against Palace in their current guise, where victories have been hard to come by and they've had a horrific week. That's putting it gently.
Very, very gently.
Yeah, they're definitely struggling at the moment, Crystal Palace. Chelsea, should we talk about the protests?
Protest?
In inverted commas. Protests planned.
I did walk that way as well. I definitely did see it. I didn't stop in my track. I didn't. I think I was listening to something.
I saw one placard and no one chanting.
100 Chelsea fans, maybe 200 Chelsea fans there. And do you think that the lack of involvement from fans speaks to the unstable ground or the uncertainty when it comes to what Chelsea fans are protesting? Because it was only 2 months ago Chelsea fans were talking about being in a title race. Going to the Arsenal game, Chelsea were in the title race. And after a few poor results that you can put down to numerous reasons, fans are now calling for a protest. Are you kind of questioning the validity of the protest in terms of what Chelsea fans are actually mad about?
I wouldn't question the validity of it. I think there are aspects of how the club are run that they've got every right to be upset by or frustrated with, or just the lack of clarity around what they actually want, whether this is a business enterprise, whether it's a sporting one, whether it's a bit of both. And, there's an argument that you compromise a bit here to make the most of it there long term and all of that sort of thing. It feels like one of those ones that match-going fans and online fans are a very separate and different entity.
How so?
In terms of, you'll see a lot of anger about certain things online that just never really translate to a ground, and the ones that go home and away are the ones that are properly invested and seeing things in front of their own eyes and have that sort of understanding of what's going on in and around the club, maybe more than a mass of people online that are fans and certainly support the club, but maybe are quicker to anger or rush to conclusions on things slightly differently. It also feels like one of those. I forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's not the proper trust that arranged this protest. It's nothing close to the Super League ones that we saw that were so effective at Chelsea 4 or 5 years ago now. If they start winning again, if they get in the Champions League, if they win a couple of trophies, they probably die away quite quickly. A lot of protests, and this is not just to Chelsea, you see it at West Ham and other clubs around the country. Tottenham are doing it as well now. If those two teams are around the European places, nobody's protesting.
You're saying the football fans are fickle?
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah.
Constantly. Chelsea are quite bad for being fickle as well. I mean, I heard that the protesters were singing Enzo Maresca's name, and it's a bit late for that now. They should have sung it when he was in the ground and standing up and on the touchline, and nobody was really getting behind him. To now start singing his name is a bit bizarre.
Well, Sam, what do you make of the protest or lack thereof?
Yeah, no, I'd never sit in this position and have a go at people for voicing their displeasure. Anything, everyone's got a right to do that. But yeah, I can only go on the people I speak to that I know that follow Chelsea, that have followed Chelsea for years and years, and I feel there's a bit of a disconnect, of course, with the old guard, the people that used to go and watch Chelsea continually through the golden era of trophies galore. And I think some of those people may have taken a little bit of a step back reluctantly because of the recent goings on. And I suppose the reality of football is as well, in the end of last season, in the summer, it was all pretty rosy. And I was guilty of this. I expected Chelsea to be probably a lot more points better off at this stage, a lot closer to the title contenders, and the opposite has happened. So I think in the short term, that's probably another issue, that the disparity between Arsenal and Manchester City is too great at the moment, and there's probably a likelihood of that not changing in the short term.
I think the biggest disconnect will come, because we've all noticed this going to the games, is that the players arrive and there's a blue carpet out for them to walk off and you can pay to clap them in, and all of this sort of, the dugout club behind, the fireworks going off, the dry ice when they walk out the tunnel. I think there's probably a lot of fans sat in those stands thinking, this isn't what we put our money into the club for. We just want to see football not as a big entertainment production. It's changing everywhere. It's not just Chelsea that are doing this. Loads of clubs are going down this route of bumping up prices for exclusive seats or access. People are being moved left, right and centre at other stadiums around the country. But again, it will always come back to, and I wouldn't like that if it was happening at my club, really, I don't think. But it all comes back to the performance on the pitch, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think for the model to really work, for Chelsea to be really challenging for the big prizes, you need to turn some of these signings, and there's been a number who I could probably go to here. Some of them need to become Palmers. Some of them need to become Caicedo. Some of them need to become indispensable over the next few seasons for it to really prosper, for them for challenge. And I'm sure that's the hope. There'll be one or two maybe across the next few windows who are ones that you can hang your hat on, that are going to be here and that can take Chelsea to the next level.
I think
but
that's
within that,
point.
there's a risk, isn't there? Within that you don't find enough of these that are good enough.
To your point of what are they protesting about, I think somebody walked past and said that they could hear them singing Cole Palmer's name, Moises Caicedo's name, Esteval's name, Enzo Fernandez's name, and you think, well, who bought them?
Yeah.
These are all players that have been bought in under this ownership. So you're either unhappy and that's it, or you pick and choose. If you're going to protest, don't start praising them in the same breath.
There's probably the quartet you mentioned there. You put Reece James, obviously homegrown, into it. There's a really good spine there.
Yeah.
That's the frustration, and it's probably not going to turn, because of the model now, is not going to turn immediately into a team that can challenge Arsenal and Manchester City this current moment in time. But across the next few windows, I'm sure there's a confidence there that if they hit the right spot again, then just those two or three little pieces of the jigsaw could be found and make them a challenge. But it's a very different strategy to just going out and lumping the money on Mark Gay, who is ready made, or going out and getting another one of prime centre forwards who's going to cost you whatever they cost these days, probably akin to 100 million or whatever. That's not probably realistic at the moment.
Well, it's a strategy that Chelsea fans are going to have to get used to, because Bluecoat are here for the long term. Thanks for tuning in to the Chelsea Blueprint, brought to you by Sun Sport. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Make sure you leave us a comment as well. Love to hear your thoughts on this episode. I'm Kweku Afari. He's Sam Parkin. He's Jack Rosser. We'll see you next time.